Hi, I'm Craig Phillips. In this video, I'm going to show you how to assemble and install your very own marble fireplace, as well as this electric flame effect fire. This particular model is called the Denver Suite, and it's one of the many designs that Bespoke Fireplaces offer. Bespoke Fireplaces are an award-winning manufacturer of premium marble and electric flame effect fireplaces. Their mission from the very start has always been to produce and deliver quality, high-end products, making them one of the largest fireplace retailers in the UK. Constantly striving to keep one step ahead of the competition when it comes to the latest trends and designs, Bespoke products are fast becoming a must-have for homeowners and stockists nationwide. Once you picked your design and had it safely delivered to your house, it couldn't be any easier to install. It comes in an entire kit of parts, and that includes the Bespoke Flame Effect Electric Fire, the hearth, back panel, the mantle, and the surround. And you also get all the fixtures and fittings you require. And the tools you're going to require to install your fireplace are tape measure and pencil, spirit levels, trimming knife, cork gun, cordless drill, and some drill bits. Once you've decided where you're fitting your fireplace, you can then start preparing the surfaces. I'm going to be fitting mine on this flat wall here, and I want it in the very centre. So I'm going to measure the whole area right across, which comes to 4.8 metres. So I find the very centre of that on my tape, which is 2.4. I'm going to do a little pencil mark right down there. And then the actual hearth itself is 1520 millimetres. So again, I'm going to find the very centre, which is 760, and draw a pencil mark on the actual marble itself. Now, first of all, I'm going to lift this into position here. Now, this can be installed on any surface floor, whether it's a wooden floorboards or a concrete floor like this one. In some cases, you might have to glue it down there, but most of the time, it's heavy enough to just simply sit into position, but straight up against the wall, and it will not move once the rest of the fireplace is installed around it. So lifting it can be quite tricky because, of course, they are heavy. So if you've got somebody available to give you a hand, Steve, if you could take one end, please. We lift this up gently by tipping the back, putting your fingers underneath, and just as a dry run, laying it into position. Again, putting one end down first, making sure your fingers are nice and clear and safe. We're lining up our centre marks here of the centre of the wall and the centre of the fireplace. So if we just gradually slide that across so it's almost butt up to the plasterboard wall, just leaving a small 10mm gap at both ends that'll allow the cables to feed through. There we go. Yep, that's right in the centre. The next thing you need to do now is check on the underside of it around here that we haven't got any gaps. We want to see that it's perfectly level, of course. So I'm going to place my spirit level in the middle. I'm checking the bubble from here, and it's looking pretty much perfect. For me, I'm also going to check the levels this way with a small boat level. That's looking okay. And this side is also looking okay. If you happen to have your carpets already fitted, it's not a problem. Simply place your hearth on top of the carpet first, get yourself a trimming knife, and simply cut nice and tight along the front and side edges of the hearth itself. Remove it out and then take the off-cutter carpet away, and then simply fix your hearth into position. So the next stage is to place the actual surround on top of the hearth, centralise it, and then mark it up where these prefix brackets are, where they have to be drilled and plugged to the wall. So Steve, if we, again, very gently lift this, and slowly pushing it down to find that centre. We've got a bit of an equal gap either side. Now I know it's up against the wall, I'm going to take my pencil and just do a little mark where that bracket is. There's a pre-drilled hole through it. draw around there. Right, Steve, let's move this out nice and carefully. Lean it to the front, lift it to one side. So now I'm going to drill, using a masonry drill bit, drill through the plasterboard and into the wall behind. So now the back wall is prepared and the plugs are in place. The next stage is to fix the fire to the actual surround. So Steve, if you'd like to lift this over with me, I'm going to turn it over onto its face. Now, of course, it's a polished face, so you do want to be placing it on a nice, clean, level surface to avoid any scratching on there. Now, it has two base brackets on here. I'm going to lift these up, put these into position. I'll explain a little bit more about them later. But of course, we're going to be gluing the fire to the back of this, so we do want to make sure that it's clean and there is no dust on here. So I'm just using a little silicone wipe to make sure that's nice and clean and dust free. And then with a tissue, drying that off. And then I've got my fast reacting grab adhesive, which I'm going to start to put a small line all the way around the edge, just probably about 20 millimeters away from the inside edge. This rapid set adhesive, of course, comes with your kit of fixing parts, and it will start to react within the first hour or so and give it a good bite to allow you to carry on working. Just going to do another little line further up here. This will be dry enough within the hour to allow you to carry on working and install your full fire surround. Little small one here. You don't want to be putting too much of this on, just getting it nice and even all the way around. So now, Steve, if you'd like to help me lift this fire, got little handles on the side. If we take it to the back first, tilt it over, and then we put it on a bit of an angle, just find that lip in there. That's it. And straight away you can feel it slot into position. There's only a very small gap for it to maneuver around, and then I'm going to place an equal amount of pressure just on all four corners, so we know for sure that that adhesive that I've put all the way around the edges is biting and there's no gaps around it.
And be sure to fit the fire the right way up, with the vents at the top and the feet at the bottom.
Perfect. So as I say, I'm going to leave that now for a good hour to start to cure so it grabs, and then I can lift it back up and carry on installing my fireplace. Now the glue has had a good hour to dry. It will take 24 hours to fully cure, but after an hour we can still carry on working on installing the fireplace itself. I've already opened the base plate feet up here, so I'm going to lift this fire up and they're actually going to take the weight. But before I do that, I'm taking the power lead and I'm just going to plug that in to the bottom on the underside here. And then, Steve, if we put our fingers under here and we lift it back up that way, the glue now is taking the weight of the fire itself. We place our hands at the back and fingers underneath here, and if we just gently lift that. Again, centrally on the hearth, pushing the fire flush up to the back wall. Now the next stage, we will grab the main surround. I'm just very gently and slowly placing it on top of the hearth, lining up our angle brackets that we've already pre-drilled and plugged the wall, just pulling them right into position along here. Now that's more or less holding itself in position now. The fire's butt up against the wall. The surround here is pushed up. We've got a small little gap, as we can see, along here and here and underneath here, but we'll come back to that in a moment. What I want to do next is take my 50mm screws and screw through the angle bracket into the raw plug that we put in earlier. Same again the opposite side. Now the surround is nice and secure, firmly fixed to the wall. We can come back to these gaps around the side. Which I'm going to take my rapid set grab adhesive. I'm just going to put it in about 10 or 15mm back and start to apply some glue in a nice equal line all the way through there. I'm going to do the same again in the opposite side. Just making sure that nozzle is set back and not flush to the end of the frame. Now we also have that gap, you can see it from the inside of your fireplace here. So you've got two options. You can apply the glue from the top across there or from the underside here, but I can see it's a little bit easier from the actual top. Now I've applied the glue along the both sides and the top of it. I'm going to place these 4 wedges down the back of the wall, pushing against the fire to make that fire and that back plate push forward and bond to the actual surround. So I'm using 4 wedges all in all, 2 along the top, and then I've put 1 each side of the fireplace as far down as possible. And what that's doing is it's pushing the actual fire and this back plate a little bit further forward. Of course, this surround can't move because we've got it screwed into the wall, but what that's doing is it's pushing the glue now out of there. It's oozing it out and it's making it a nice tight connection. So if you get a little bit of glue and residue coming out, just get yourself a silicone wipe and you can wipe that away. And then you've got a nice clean sealed join there. You do that, of course, across on both sides and along the top. You may find you might have a tiny little bit of a gap where the glue hasn't oozed out as much. And if that is the case, you can always add a tiny little bit more of the glue tight into there. Just before the glue dries, always double check that you centralise the fire into the surround. So we've got about 85mm there, and the same again, 85mm there. Now the glue's been cleaned up and you know it's all centralised in position, the last section to install is the mantelpiece. Okay. very gently lifting the mantle into position, placing it down on the front, and just nice and slowly, removing your fingers and allowing that to lay flat on there. The two sides are taking the weight, the sections in here taking the weight, and as you can see, we've got a bracket which is manufactured into the underside of this top section. So I'm going to take my pencil, just draw around that. So now it's marked round, and I've done a pencil mark in the centre there. This needs to be countersunk. The actual thickness of that is a couple of millimetres. So I'm going to take the section back off the top, lay it down here. Thanks, Steve. And then just taking a little small chisel and a mallet, I'm going to chisel that down a couple of millimetres. But before I do that, I will drill my hole in there first, because I'm going to lose where that little pencil mark is in the centre if not. So now it's ready to chisel that out. It only has to be a couple of millimetres in, just so it can be sunken in, screwed down, and then filled over the top. That if, for instance, the children decide to start climbing up and down on here, it isn't going to pull away from the wall in any way. Should be deep enough now to be able to push that in and fill over the top of it. And then we're ready to lift this mantle back in place, Steve. Nice and slowly lowering it down. That's it. Yeah, he should push straight in there now. So I'm going to get another screw. Drive that screw right through there. So that is the installation of the structure now complete. All I have to do now, a little bit of filler onto there, let it dry, sand it down and paint over it. And if needed, you can run your caulk gun all the way around the outside edge. Then to finish the look off, of course, remove the glass and fit your fuel beds. Now, I mentioned earlier about placing the half butt up to the back wall, but just leaving about 10 millimeters gap. That's to allow the cables to come out of the back and then be tucked underneath the plasterboard. I've got two cables here. One is for the electric flamed fire, of course, and the other one is for the LED lights if you choose to have them installed in your fire surround. I've got two standard plugs, so they can be tailed across and fitted into a double 13 amp socket. So once they come out to the bottom, they can be tucked underneath there and in the skirting board covering over the top of them. And any small gaps around the outside of the fireplace or the skirting board can be filled with caulk afterwards. Now the skirts are fitted and your carpets are down. All you have to do is decorate the fuel bed. Now you've got a variety of different choices. It comes with part burnt logs, stones, gems, crystals, clear ones, black ones. The choice is yours. You can fit them and mix them up whichever way you prefer. And then of course you've got your remote control. You can adjust the colours and speed, which will give you thousands of settings to actually choose from. To fit the fuel bed, you're going to have to remove this section of glass. It's quick and simple to do. It's held in by two screws either side. Just take a small Phillips screwdriver, and once that's loose and taken down, the other side I've already done, you can pull your piece of glass forward and gently lift it out and start to lay out your fuel bed. If you'd like to see the full range of premium bespoke fires and learn more about how the latest technology can benefit you, then visit the website bespokefireplace.co.uk.